Let's be real. Every guy wants to know that secret switch inside a woman's mind. The one that makes her think about you when she wakes up, checks her phone every few minutes, and smiles at random because your name just crossed her mind. But here's the truth most men miss. Attraction isn't just about looks, muscles, or money. It's about emotional triggers, the kind that bypass logic and hit her right in the heart. So today, I'm going to break down the emotional triggers that make a woman obsess over you. Not just like you. But before we go deep, let me warn you, these aren't cheap tricks. They're psychological triggers rooted in how women emotionally bond. Once you understand them, you won't have to chase anymore. She'll start chasing you. First, the trigger of emotional safety. Every woman has one deep fear, getting hurt. And when you're the man who makes her feel safe emotionally, not judged, not compared, but understood, you instantly stand out. Most men rush to impress. They talk over her flex or act like they don't care. But the guy who listens, who remembers the small things she says, and who reacts calmly when she opens up, creates emotional safety. And that's addictive. Because when she feels she can be her real self around you, flaws, insecurities, tears, and all, you become her emotional home. And once a woman feels that, she can't stop thinking about you, because emotionally, you're where she feels safe. Next is the trigger of unpredictability. Women aren't obsessed with men who are too available or too predictable. They get hooked on contrast. When you show depth, sometimes playful and teasing, other times deep and thoughtful, it keeps her emotionally stimulated. This doesn't mean you play games or go cold. It means you stay interesting. Maybe you send her a good morning text one day, then surprise her by not texting for a day. But when you come back, your energy is magnetic, not needy. Women crave men who feel like a story they haven't finished reading. Mystery isn't manipulation, it's attraction fuel. When she can't fully figure you out, she'll keep replaying your words and actions in her mind, trying to decode you, and that's where obsession begins. Now let's talk about the validation gap. Every woman secretly craves to feel desired, but not easily conquered. When you show interest, but not instant submission, it activates what psychologists call the reward system. The brain releases dopamine when she feels she's earning your attention. That's why she becomes more invested in you when you give her small doses of validation instead of constant approval. Compliment her once, not 10 times. Notice the details others don't, like how she tucks her hair behind her ear or how she gets excited talking about something she loves. These subtle recognitions trigger emotional connection. You're not chasing her, you're acknowledging her. That balance creates the tension that makes her obsessed with your energy. The fourth trigger is purpose and confidence. Confidence is the emotional language women respond to even without words. When you have purpose, when you're focused on your goals, your mission, your growth, you project self-worth. And that's magnetic. Women are biologically drawn to men who have direction, not men who orbit around them. When she sees you're not desperate for validation, that you're building something bigger than yourself, it triggers admiration. She doesn't just like you, she respects you. And respect turns into obsession because it's rare. When she realizes she can't easily control your attention, but she still gets pieces of your energy, she starts craving it more. Next, emotional mirroring. This is where connection gets powerful. When you subtly mirror her tone, her expressions, her pace of speaking, you're building subconscious rapport. It tells her brain, he's like me. He gets me. And when she feels that emotional synchronization, it activates trust. Trust in women's psychology equals attachment. She starts feeling emotionally safe in your presence and starts associating happiness with you. That's when she'll find excuses to text, call, or see you, because her emotions are now tied to your presence. You've become her emotional reward system without forcing anything. The sixth trigger, vulnerability with strength. Most men think being vulnerable means being weak, but women obsess over men who can open up without losing control, sharing a personal story, a challenge, or even a fear, but doing it with self-awareness and confidence creates deep intimacy. She sees your emotional maturity, not your emotional chaos. Vulnerability shows her you're real, but strength shows her you're grounded. That combination is powerful. It tells her you're not afraid of emotions, and that gives her permission to trust hers with you. Once she feels that kind of emotional chemistry, she's no longer just attracted. She's emotionally invested. And finally, the trigger of absence. Every emotion needs space to grow. When you give her moments to miss you, when you don't always reply instantly, when you focus on your goals instead of constantly seeking her, Attention, you activate the longing mechanism. The human brain craves what it can't always have. When you become the man who adds value, makes her feel special, and then pulls back just enough for her to feel your absence. Her mind starts replaying memories, your words, your energy. She'll check her phone. She'll think about you at random moments. That's emotional imprinting, and it's the final stage of obsession. So, if you want to be the man she can't stop thinking about, stop chasing her body, start triggering her emotions. Make her feel safe yet intrigued, interested yet challenged, connected yet slightly uncertain. That's the emotional roller coaster that creates obsession, because attraction starts with curiosity, but obsession begins with emotion. When you understand this balance, safety and mystery, validation and distance, strength and vulnerability, you don't just attract her attention, you own her emotional focus.